had to drop in real quick. Y'all, Beyond the Stage Door, episode 1 with Mr. Brandon Michael Nase. So, it got a little weird with our video, so I'm going to catch you up on what really happened. So, at this point, I'd introduce Brandon as the musical theater icon, pioneer, and legend that he is. And now we're talking about how we started in musical theater. So, actually, you can go to another YouTube video in which I talked about that. But, yeah, here is the video.
They did Oliver, and I was in that.
Like Oliver or Oliver?
Oliver!
There we go. Okay. There is a difference.
And I did that, and they did Beauty and the Beast, and I did that. And then, so that was like high school. I did those youth musicals, and then also I did community theater. I did like Joseph. I was in Aida. Yes. Good old Mary.
Aida is the show. Period.
So, but then whenever I went to undergrad, I did music education because I grew up super poor, and I was like, if I'm going to major in music, which there was no other option, I have to do something that I know I can get a job when I get out, because I'm tired of being poor.
Mm-hmm.
So I majored in music education because I knew that when I graduated, I could teach. So I got my undergrad, music ed, and then once I graduated, I moved back to my hometown and I taught. I actually was I took over at the middle school that I went to, the choir program there for my school choir director. I replaced her. And then I moved up the next year and was the assistant director to my high school choir director. And it was really rough. I learned that what I liked most about teaching was I was the kind of teacher that my office door was always open. Like kids would come and hang out and we would just talk. And I was like, that's what I like about teaching, like establishing those relationships with students.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the bell would ring and I'd be like, oh God, I gotta go teach now. And I was like, I just don't want to do this. And then also the place that I taught was, how do I put this? Very racist. So I dealt with a lot of that, called the N-word by another teacher, in the region, and a student overheard it. So it was like all of these things that I was like, I feel like I'm being told that it's time to. And when I moved back, I did another show at our community theater. I did Les Mis, and then I did another show. I did Putnam, but when I did Les Mis, we would go out into the lobby afterwards and greet the fans, and the recurring thing that I kept hearing was why are you here? Who are you? Did they bring you here from somewhere? What are you doing? And I guess I heard that and I thought, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? And so, I had always told my then wife, before my wife and I got married, I was super heavy into student organizations in undergrad, and I worked for student government and had my own office, and it was super bougie and ridiculous.
Office.
One day I called she was then my girlfriend, and I said, hey, can you come to my office? I want to talk to you. Come to my office. Who am I? She comes to my office. She sits down across from me. I'm literally I just want you to know, this is random, but I was I want you to know that there may be the possibility that I want to move to New York at some point and pursue performing. She was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, I just wanted you to know that. Fast forward, we're married. We live in Amarillo, Texas. We're looking at houses. And I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to audition for grad school. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, where? And I was like, OCU, because I know they have a good program, and NYU. She was like, ugh. And so I auditioned for both. I procrastinated huge on NYU because I was nervous. I didn't want to get the rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a great story. I filled out all the information online for the NYU application, and then I kind of forgot about it. And I get this email from the director of the program that's are you going to submit your videos? No. Before that, I was it was the day before my wedding. Literally the day before the rehearsal dinner for my wedding. And I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, the audition videos are due the day after our wedding. I hadn't even made the videos. And I turned to my wife, my fiance, and I was like, those audition videos are due. And she looks at me and she's like, don't even talk to me about anything right now. We're getting married in 2 days. I was like, got it. So I call my videographer for my wedding and the pianist for my wedding. And I said, hey, so we have the bridal luncheon tomorrow and then the rehearsal dinner at like 5. Can you meet me at the church at noon to record these videos? They were like, okay. So we have like the bridal luncheon. I like throw a bunch of stuff together, print some music, go to the church, record audition videos for NYU. And then I tell the videographer, just give it to me at the wedding. So literally I'm like at my wedding on the dance floor and the videographer's like, gives me a flash drive and he's like, hey, here's those videos. I take it. I don't even do anything with it. They were due the next day. I don't even submit them because I'm like, I'm on my honeymoon. Like, I know, crazy, huh? I get back from my honeymoon and like a week or two later, the director of the program emails me and he's like, are you going to submit your videos or not? And I was like, well, they're late, but he asked, so I might as well do it. Submit my videos. They invite me for an audition. I go to New York, have my live consultation, come back. Then the very next weekend, I go to OCU to audition. So I'm at the OCU audition. They asked us to prepare so much. It was insane. It was like 7 songs, all different genres, like one before 1968, one between this time, like all these different songs. We had to learn a dance like combo on YouTube before we came. We had to have 3 monologues. And at NYU, they were literally like, just bring your book. And I was like, perfect. So I go to this OCU audition and I'm already over it. I get up on stage, I sing like 2 songs of the 7 that we were asked to prepare. And like, okay, come here. Like, come talk with us. And I was like, okay. So I go and sit, and I just remember one voice teacher. This is the only thing I remember. She was like, so why don't you just go to New York? And I was like, that's a great question. I know that I don't want to come here now if that's the first thing you're going to say to me.
Right.
So we get in the car. We're driving back to Amarillo from Oklahoma City. And I'm like, Lauren, if I get into NYU, we're moving to New York. That's what we're doing. Kid you not, my phone dings. I have an email from the professor that I did my consultation with in New York. And he's like, hey, just wanted to let you know your official acceptance will go out later this week, but you've been accepted. And so I was like, I'm moving to New York. So that's literally what got me into musical theater. I always loved it, but I was like, I need to focus more on acting, and I need to figure out how I can do 8 shows a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because before NYU, I wouldn't have been able to sing 8 shows a week.
Right.
The technique I needed, I just didn't know how to apply it to musical theater singing because I was in that mindset of like, well, when I use my classical voice and when I use my musical theater voice and my pop voice and it took me getting my master's at NYU for them to be like, no. You have one voice that you use to sing different styles of music. And you may use a different vocalism and sing in a different style, but you still have one voice, and you should carry the technique you use with that one voice into any genre. Which is a hard thing for people to learn because people listen to themselves and they're like, no, this doesn't sound right. And so it took like 2 months of being in lessons for me to be like, oh, I guess this doesn't sound weird. It does sound good, and it's very easy.
Yeah. So what did you study at NYU?
I studied, they called it vocal performance. I always say vocal performance / musical theater.
Yeah.
I went to Steinhardt. I didn't go to Tisch. And so the interesting thing about Steinhardt and Tisch that people will say is Steinhardt is for singers, Tisch is for actors. I would disagree. I just think that Steinhardt doesn't let anybody get away with not singing healthily.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of Steinhardt is for you to be able to sing 8 shows a week. I think the problem comes in for some people. Steinhardt was great for me because I think people have this perception that at Steinhardt you don't get taught how to act. That's totally not true. It's just, are you able to put the focus and to laser in on your acting, or are you too busy trying to figure out how to make this function?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my observation for a lot of people, that we got, for the graduate students, we got through 2 years and they were like, okay, I know how to sing now, but they couldn't act. And the same thing for undergrad. They get through like 3 years of figuring out how to use their voice. And then it's like, okay, well, you can't act because you didn't like take any of that time to. So for me, it was like, I know how to sing. My undergraduate degree was in classical singing. So, and that's Steinhardt. They want you to have the classical training.
Yeah.
So it took 2 months to be like, okay, let me put this into my musical theater singing. And then it was like, okay, I'm out of my own way. I'm not thinking about my voice when I do this. So I was able then to focus on, who am I singing to? What's my circumstance? Like, what, all of those acting things.
Yeah. So that's like, vocal performance is everything. So like, I don't even know how you would go about molding that. So like, after college, so I snooped on your website, Frozen.
Yes.
How did that even happen?
So I just am very blessed to have been able to work with truly, honestly, my resume isn't very big when it comes to my performance, the things that I've done, but it's just the caliber of people that I've worked with. I don't know how I have been so blessed, but my first professional theater gig was in between my first and second year of grad school. I did Les Mis at Dallas Theater Center. It was a huge production, got a lot of publicity. The director was Liesl Tommy, and she directed Eclipse on Broadway with Lupita Nyong'o. She was nominated for a Tony Award. She is perfect.
Yeah.
And I think even at the time during Les Mis, I was still learning how to act and just learning everything, and I didn't realize what I was getting. Looking back now, I'm just like, oh, what an unbelievable experience that was, and everything about it. It was incredible. So then I graduated, and I heard that Lisa was directing a workshop of Frozen, and I was like, are we sure? Because Liesl doesn't really do like, I'd never heard of her doing like anything. But then I confirmed it. So I just emailed, and was like, hey, I'd really love to come in and be seen for Olaf, because that's where I thought I fit best. And so I went in and auditioned and had callbacks, and I did the workshop. We did the workshop. It was like a month, I think. We were in LA for like all of November in 2015, and did that, and then decided to like do the full show and move to LA, to that area. So I did that for like all of 2016, and yeah.
That is such a cool thing. So I want to flash forward a little bit to like a musical that I thought was just huge anyway, and nobody apparently knows about it, which just like blows my mind. But like, Freedom Riders was my jam. Like, I was on Facebook like, I need new clips. What's going on? Michael Kilgore, how dare you? So like, how did that even come into play, especially with, New York Musical Theater Festival, with that everything happening?
It was, honestly, I didn't know much about it. I just got an email from my agent. She was like, I booked it on a video submission. And so I sent in the video submission, and then I was like, okay, you're doing this. And I didn't really know anything about it. I was like, sounds like a cool project. And yeah, we did it. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. We all learned a lot in the experience. I think there's a lot of potential with Freedom Riders to be something really great. And I think that they're working out everything that they need to be working on.
Yeah. So now my favorite part. I am an avid watcher of the gospel according to Broadway. I watch at least once a week religiously. So how did that idea form, just like for this project?
Right. Well, I think I've struggled a lot recently of being like, why am I doing this? Like, and trying to think like, well, how did this start? Why am I? And the thing is it's not something that nobody's done. We've seen all of Joshua Henry's videos of him doing the same thing. We have the Broadway Inspirational Voices. I think it's what's at the core of what Gospel According to Broadway is and what I hope it will become. And I think it's just the whole packaging together and making it this thing that's everything else. It just came about of me like listening to Waving Through a Window and being like, there needs to be a gospel arrangement. Like I was just like, and going online and like looking at other covers of it and just being like, I want to hear something else other than which like wrong with that. It's great. It's obviously a great song. But in my creative mind, I was like, there could be some like really juiciness in this, like harmonically. And so my friend Sujan, I was like, hey, let's meet up. I want to do an arrangement of this song. We were like working on a benefit concert together. And I was like, well, let's stay after rehearsal and record this. So we just like sat down together and kind of started working through it. And she'd play something and I'd be like, yeah, keep that. And then I'd play something and I'd be like, well, let's do this. And then we did this arrangement and we like played through it. And I was like, this is really great. I like this. I was like, we need to record this for sure. And then I was like, maybe we should like do more of this. You know, we work well together. And honestly, I don't even know how it blew up the way that it did, but it was just me like, okay, well, let's do more. Let's upload them. Well, if we're going to do this, I want it to be legit. So, and it was just like kept happening. And then it was like, okay, well, we need like this much money. And I was like, there's no way. Mm-hmm. So then I started fundraising just like privately on my own and raised the funds and hired a graphic designer and like everything. And bam, it turned into what it is. So there's that aspect of it, but it's also just the idea and me being able to sit down one day and just be like, it's really hard as a person of color to go into a room and just feel like you're not really seen, and to feel like, you know, well, you're just too black, you're not black enough,
yeah,
all excuses because I'm a person of color. And so it pretty much was I was just like, well, I also don't need to sit and hear white people tell me about my worth, because I know where my worth is and I know that I have worth. And so then I was just like, I'll just do it on my own. I will force you to see me and force you to see us and see the excellence that we have to provide.
And that's not gonna love me.
Yes, and not for you, really. It's just for me to be like, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. We are all here, and we're all not going anywhere. So that's how it came to be, and yeah.
Yeah, so one thing I love about this series is, like, you just have, like, the best guests. Like, I'm preparing to do Ragtime this summer, and I can't unlearn your version of Wheels of a Dream so I can do it how it was written. It's written, like, I'm sitting here like, no, Brian didn't do that. Stop. I'm trying to, and I know this is all from, like, industry connections, but how do you even begin, you know, picking who you want to be a part of this journey and this brand?
You know, with season 1, it was all, well, I want to work with, like, people that I like, and people that I know, and people that I know support the work of people of color. And in season 1, there were only 2 people in it that were not people of color, and that was Ryan and Caitlin. But I just knew, like, where they stood, and they were good friends, and they were very talented. And everybody else, I had, like, either worked with them or, like, had a mutual friend and was just like, hey, would you want to, you know, that's how it happened with Rebecca. We did a gig, we did an ABC up front, and I was just like, hey, would you maybe want to sing with me on something? And she was like, yeah, totally. And I had a friend who knew Major. You know, Major is from the Dallas area, and that's where I spent a lot of time. That's where I did my undergrad work in the DFW area. And from doing Les Mis here, I got to know a lot of the local theater people, and so they all knew Major. So it's all just like kind of who you know and who like, oh, well, someone knows, or somebody be like, hey, I know this person, you should contact them. They're really good, and get them on the show. So it is like networking, and but it's also just like I didn't really know Major before we did this, and I already had somebody lined up, but they had to like pull out at the last minute. And the reason I love Major so much, besides the fact of his talent, was I think I messaged him the day before rehearsals and was just like, hey, I'm good friends with so-and-so, and I'm wondering if you'd maybe want to be in this new thing I'm doing. We rehearse tomorrow and film next week. And he like responds immediately, hey, I'm available at this time. And like immediately when he responded, I was like, yeah, this is going to be this person. So yeah, that's kind of how it's come into play. I mean, I've reached out to lots of different people, and some people have said yes, and some people have said no, and some people haven't said anything. But I just feel that like whoever is supposed to do it it's gonna happen. And you know, the people that I've got on board and have contacted about season 2 and are planning on doing season 2, it's all people that I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of people I just like. I want to work with these people who are outspoken about visibility for people of color and injustice towards people of color. That's what I want Gabby to be about. I don't want it to just be like, well, this is the best person in the business. Like, I don't discount that. Great. Like, yeah, they're really good. But I don't want it to just be I'm doing this thing. It's like, well, I have this guy who's doing this project for people of color in a time that we need something like this.
Yeah. So who are your top 5 dream guests?
Chuck Cooper, because he, for me, is like my musical theater icon, role model, everything.
Yeah.
Because you would ask a lot of performers right now, like you would mention his name, and a lot of performers would be like, who's that? And I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because he's just this like incredible force of nature, incredible talent. I've never met him, but from everything that I've heard, just like incredibly nice guy who just does what he does. And, you know, so Chuck Cooper, I've never even thought of
Tevye.
Huh?
Hashtag Black Tevye.
Yes. Man. This is a really hard question, and I have not thought about this.
How have you not thought about this?
I don't know, because with preparing for it, I just like live in the moment. I'm like, okay, I want to ask this person, I want to ask this person. You know, and so many of it are like friends, and some people that I'm like, oh, I'd really love to have them. It's like people that I know are potentially going to be on. So, and I can't give that away. I know. And so, I'm going to have to come back to that. As we continue to talk, I'm going to think.
We can come back to it. Okay. So, you're starting season 2.
I know I have some. I do. Okay. Heather Headley. Like her singing anything on Gabby.
She's everything.
Yeah.
Heather doesn't get enough credit for her career just in general.
Right. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 already, Chuck Cooper and Heather Headley. And as we continue to talk, I'll probably think of them and I'll interject.
Yeah. So you're starting season 2, and there's a Kickstarter campaign up right now.
Yes.
So can you fill people in on what the Kickstarter is for and where they can find the campaign?
Yes, the Kickstarter is to field fill the holes in the budget for season 2 and for an upcoming residency that we'll have at the Green Room 42, where we'll be doing some live shows. So that's what that money will go towards. We're trying to raise a lot of money. It's a very lofty goal, but I think we can do it. I've seen people raise a lot of money on Kickstarter for things that aren't nearly as beneficial to a whole group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kickstarter can be found on our Facebook page, on our Instagram page, on my personal Instagram page. There's no way you'll miss it. I'm posting about it a lot. So give generously so that we can all be seen and heard.
Yeah, so I'm going to link the links down to everything down below. Let people know where they can find you on social media.
At Brandon Michael Nase, that's my personal. And at The Gospel According to Broadway, it's Gabby's Instagram page. So go follow, like, share both of those. And you can find Gabby on Facebook as well. The Gospel According to Broadway is there. And then I have an artist page on Facebook. That's Brandon Michael Nase.
Yeah, guys, go do all that. You can find me on Instagram at MWMIB Speaks and on Twitter and all the other things. I'm going to link everything down below. And also you can go to my website and I will have all five of those guests that he wants on the website. So if you want to find out, go there now. Peace.
And that is all, folks. Yo, check it out. You can find everything linked down below. As always, you already know how we do it. But go to my website right now. You can find those other 4 artists that he would love to be featured on The Gospel According to Broadway. That is all for today, y'all. Beyond the Stage Door. You know we're coming back. We're coming better. Peace.